Here we go. She got that sign right in the middle. She's getting good at this. Okay, we're moving on with the song. Here's a story that must be told about two ladies that are kind of old. One's a pastor, the other's not. They like to chat and cook and pray a lot. Oh, chat, cook and pray. Oh, chat, cook and pray. Oh, chat, cook and pray. Oh, chat, cook, pray. There's lots of laughter and lots of fun. Tuesdays on Facebook Live at 1. You'll never know what will happen when Lucy and Ethel are at it again. Oh, chat, cook, and pray. Oh, chat, cook, and pray. Oh, chat, cook, and pray. Oh, chat, cook, pray. One more time. Chat, cook, and pray. Oh, chat, cook, and pray. Oh, chat, cook, and pray. Oh, chat, cook, pray. Amen. Woo! We are here. It's Tuesday. It's the week before Palm Sunday. There's so much happening and so much going on.
And we're brought to you by.
And we're brought to you by Bethel United Church of Christ, where no matter where you are on life's journey, you are always welcomed here. So Marty, of course, has found a special recipe as we get ready for, and still are in this Lenten season, and it's salmon patties, and they just look so good. I hope you all got your recipe. Here's the thing though, I'm going to be eating by myself because she has a little procedure tomorrow that makes you can't eat
Anything
the day before. So here I am eating by myself.
Well, that's okay.
Well, I know.
Maybe it won't be any good. How do you know?
What I hope is, if you guys are doing this while she's doing it, we'll be eating together. If not, please get something to eat while I'm eating, so I don't feel like I'm eating in front of everybody. So here we go. We're going to learn about salmon. We're going to learn about salmon patties, and she's ready to take it away.
All right. Well, we're going to start out here. I'm going to put my. I am making half of the recipe instead of the whole thing because Pastor Karen can't eat all of it. Anyway, I've got my salmon from Costco, and it's just the pink salmon, and it worked just fine, so I'm not too worried about it. And I'm just going to mix this up and kind of flake it up.
And she does that with her magic fork. She
Yes.
uses a fork for everything. For mashing potatoes. She knows how to.
Oh, there, it's back.
Oh, it's back.
Okay,
We're back. Okay, we're going to hope that this stays on. Hi, Steve. Hi, Michelle, and anybody else that checked in that I might have missed. We're trying to do this without buffering. Hi, Bill Wooten. Okay, I wonder if I could put a spell on the.
Well, I think something put a spell on us already, and I'm not. And I'm going to put in the seasonings right now.
Okay, what are the seasonings?
I'm putting in cayenne, which you've learned to appreciate.
I do appreciate cayenne.
And then I'm garlic, and some onion, and salt and pepper.
Okay.
And then some lemon juice.
Okay, and all this is on the recipe, so you don't need to go through how much of what everything.
'Cause it's just, and I kind of made part of this stuff up, so. So you can, it said that you could experiment with it. So
Yeah, you do.
So I did.
Okay, that's the onion powder.
The onion powder and.
Then she's going to do salt and pepper.
Yep.
And I see a little bowl of capers over there.
You do, because when I saw this recipe called for capers, I knew you would love it.
I love capers.
So I had to go to the store and buy more capers because I've used all the capers up.
We have capered away. We're just caperers.
There was that one recipe that we made with that chicken and caper and cream sauce.
Oh,
that was really good.
That was a good one.
My problem is I'm trying so many of these different recipes out. We never have a repeat at home, and so
Yeah. But it's great. So while she's mixing that up, and then after you get that, you're going to mix in, is it mayo or anything?
Nope. I'm just going to mix in 1 egg.
Okay.
And some lemon juice.
1 egg and lemon juice. And then you're going to start forming the patties. Oh, do I need to crush any crackers? Crush any crackers?
That kind of sounded trashy, actually. And just a little bit.
Well, maybe you can do that while I read, because I've got a lot to read today.
It was very interesting.
Yes, this is very interesting. The word salmon, any variety of fish of the genera Samo or Orcophonicus, comes from the Latin word salmo, which later became salmon in Middle English. Okay. Many Native American tribes depended on salmon for their diet. Early American settlers quickly got tired of a salmon-rich diet, with many indentured servants actually having a clause written into their contracts restricting salmon meals to only once a week. Salmon was abundant on both the east and west coasts of America. The waters of the Northwest are particularly abundant, where it is known as Alaskan turkey. Oh, so we're having Alaskan turkey patties. In Hawaii, it is lomi lomi, a food that is highly prized. New England first began canning salmon in 1840 and shipping it all the way across the country to California. By 1864, the tables were turned and California was supplying the East with canned salmon. The waters of the East became fished out so that today all Atlantic salmon, wow, this is it, the waters have become fished out so that today all Atlantic salmon come from Canada or Europe. There are 8 species of salmon in North American waters, 5 in Pacific waters alone. Worldwide commercial salmon production exceeds 1 billion pounds annually, with about 70% coming from aquaculture salmon farms. And now we're going to talk a little bit about smoked salmon. I'm going to get my paper out of the way. Smoked salmon comes in a variety of forms, with the most popular being lox. You've heard of lox and bagels. Lox first appearing in English in 1941. Maybe that was in England. I don't know. In English in 1941. Comes from the Yiddish lax and originated in New York. It was unknown amongst European Jews. Lox is kind of an American. Lox is kind of an American thing. Lox is cured in salt brine and is preferably made of Pacific salmon. Of course, the most popular menu item is thin slices of lox on a bagel with cream cheese.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I know. I've had that before. It is good. Pickled lox has also become a favorite thanks to the Concord Hotel in the Catskill Mountains of New York, who came up with the recipe in 1939. Consider, if you will. That sounds like the line from Twilight Zone. Rod Serling. Consider, if you will. Consider, if you will, the meager salmon patty. Consider the origins of this particular dish, or exactly why something like canned salmon made it into a patty and fried became a staple in households across all the South. That dietary niche was perhaps filled with another food of the region and didn't have the catalyst necessary that fostered wide acceptance. In the 1970s, every mom made a meal of salmon patties, soup, beans, and cornbread at least once a month. I do remember Mom making salmon patties. I made salmon patties.
My family, we didn't have a lot of money sometimes, and so we had salmon patties, but the can said mackerel on it.
Okay, well.
But they told us it was really salmon.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made a difference to me if it tasted good.
That was marginal.
While the history of the fish cake pretty much occurs the entire world over, from the salted cod and mashed potato version of Newfoundland and Labrador to the Danish frikadeller to the sasumaji of Japan, we're talking a very specific preparation made with canned pink salmon, some form of binder, and an egg that seems popular only in the American South. Sometimes these are called salmon croquettes. Yes, croquettes. But croquettes, to me, stand up a little bit and look like little teepees.
Yeah.
So this would be a patty. This is a smashed croquette. But I wonder if the name was added to make a simple dish seem a bit more exotic. The history of the salmon patty goes back to the to the early 20th century into the era of the Great Depression. While every region of the United States was hit hard in the Great Depression, perhaps the hardest hit was the American South. Even through the World War I era and the Roaring Twenties, pellagra epidemics affecting millions had swept through the South due to the prevalence of ground corn in the local diet that led to a condition caused by a vitamin B3 or niacin deficiency. Linguist Sterling Eisenmenger even traces the origin of the Southern pejorative term redneck to pellagra sufferers with bright red lesions on their skin. Ooh, the first symptom caused by the disease. Well, you just learned something at Chat, Cook, and Pray every week, don't you?
Some things you really didn't
And
want to
some
learn.
things you maybe didn't want to learn, but that's okay. We'll share them anyway. Food science was in its infancy back then, and it wasn't until 1926 that Dr. Joseph Goldberger established that a diet deficient in meat, milk, and eggs and heavy on cornmeal was the most definitive factor for developing pellagra. And that diet was most prevalent among poor rural folks in the American South, and the toll of the Great Depression was making more of them every day. The U.S. government took action to prevent widespread famine in the economically strapped regions of the country. Enter the salmon. Experiments with canning salmon or other fish to preserve them had been going on since the Napoleonic Wars, and the first industrial-scale salmon cannery was built on a barge in the Sacramento River in 1864. By 1883, salmon canning was the major industry on the Columbia River, and by the early 1900s, Alaska was the major player in developing the canned salmon market. For the first time, it was possible to bring vast quantities of preserved ocean fish to inland areas at a low cost. Fostered by heavy subsidies by the U.S. government, a can of salmon in the 1920s cost, hi Darlene, hi Pat, what do you think a can of salmon in the 1920s cost? Put your guesses up here on the chat line.
29 cents?
Marty says 29 cents. Who has another bid here? What was the cost of salmon in the 1920s? A can of salmon. Hi, Jody. Anybody have a guess? If you don't have a guess, I'm going to throw it at you. What did a can of salmon cost in the 1940s? Oh, 20s. 1920s. Oh, we've got somebody. Andrea says 5 cents. Pat says 59 cents. Okay, at least we got 2 guesses, so I'm going to tell you. Andrea wins, but actually in the 1920s, the cost of a can of salmon was less than a nickel. Even today, a can of salmon in my hometown can be found for less than $3.
This was less than $3.
But that seems a whole lot. Even today, a can of salmon, whoever wrote this is acting like that's comparable to 5 cents. Even today, a can of salmon in my hometown can be found for less than $3, which seems remarkable given the logistical string required to bring a chunk of Alaska seafood to the Appalachians. With an ongoing pellagra epidemic and the suddenly gloomy prospect of tens of millions of Americans developing nutritional deficiencies and debilitating diseases, the U.S. Departments of Health and Agriculture went to work figuring out just how to feed Americans a diet that was nutritionally complete. Well, at least as far as their understanding of nutrition went, for the lowest possible cost. It was determined that a can of salmon mixed with a portion of flour, breadcrumbs, or crushed crackers, and a single egg contained enough protein to unlock the niacin in the ground corn and ward off pellagra for a family of 4 when served once a week. Maybe that's why that whole thing started, where they served once a week. That was still trying to do the healthy thing. The southern staple of salmon patties, cornbread, soup, beans was included in many Depression-era cookbooks and government pamphlets, encouraging housewives to cook nutritionally complete, if bland, foods. And such menus went into schools, hospitals, prisons, and other public institutions. It was said the filling meal could feed a family of 4 in 1935 for less than a quarter. Wow. Even in 2017, the ingredients cost less than $7. We will never know exactly how many people from the era managed to ward off starvation and disease through a steady diet of these foods, but it is certainly in the multiple millions. It's hard to imagine such a nutritional famine in our modern America, but it happened not quite a century ago. Wow. Those old cookbooks and pamphlets, let's see who's there. Hi, Keith Lipsky. How are you? Those old cookbooks and pamphlets make for some interesting study, and the menus they prescribe seem incredibly awful by today's culinary standards. Most of the recipes and many of the food science products developed then have blessedly gone the way of the dodo. I'm assuming that means the dodo is extinct.
Yes, it is.
Salmon patties are one of the rare exceptions. In the day, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt ordered the White House dining room to adopt the dietary recommendations pushed forth by the USDA, and while Melcorno chop suey never made it to let's not do that as a recipe. Salmon patty did, and frequently. Salmon patties were also a favorite of celebrated American author William Faulkner, who was something of a local legend in Oxford, Mississippi, for his consumption of liquor and salmon patties.
Well, I don't have any liquor to serve you today.
Hey, but liquor and salmon patties.
Well,
I don't
I
know.
could get you some communion wine.
I don't know. That doesn't excite me. Liquor and salmon patties.
I'm glad it didn't excite you.
Born of necessity, the salmon patty has clung to the cuisine of the South ever since. Even if Southerners have a proclivity to pronounce the L in salmon. You know, and I thought there was something in here that said why we didn't pronounce the L, but I don't see it here. But yeah, salmon is not how you say it. It's salmon. Now rooted firmly in the 49th state and an ardent connoisseur of salmon, I can no longer bring myself to eat pink salmon, especially from a can. A perfectly acceptable and vastly superior, in my opinion, substitute is to use some home canned or lightly smoked king salmon in lieu of the commercially canned stuff. Depression era cooking was necessarily bland with few seasonings beyond salt and pepper. But I tell you, these patties, I think, after seeing the stuff that Marty puts in them, look like they're going to be quite tasty. She just has to turn up the frying pan and let it fry a while.
Yeah.
So we'll let those fry a while.
It just takes about 5 minutes per side
Once you get it up to speed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you want to trust me to turn the thing around and I'll go sit down? Oh,
I don't trust you at all.
She never trusts me.
Oh, geez, scare him. Talk about the evil eye looking at you. Why don't you have a seat and I will turn the camera
Okay.
around. Because these are cooking up nicely.
Yes. And for those, before you turn the camera on, let me get this one more time for those that haven't got to see the bobbleheads. Oops, this way.
Yeah, there you go.
There we are. Yeah.
Okay. Always give them a dizzy turn here
A dizzy turn.
for the dizzy people that we are.
That looks pretty good.
Here we go. Now you can see the table.
It looks great.
Okay.
It looks so good.
All right.
You all, it's so good to be with you and to again share the recipes. Marty has become quite adept at finding those recipes and working them out so they seem to just, come together. But this one was especially simple and it looks very good. And it's starting, I can start to smell it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So what else, what do you got over there? You got other stuff over there.
I fixed you some asparagus and potatoes.
Gosh, you need to have procedures more often. So you can fix me.
Oh, I see. Well, next week's recipe is going to be very good.
Okay, and next week is another one that would be great for a Easter dish or another fish dish.
And it's all made in one pan.
And it says Jessica Powell is watching. Hi, Jessica. So it's just great to have you guys here. And look, again from our windows, it's nice outside. And, you know, if you were up here at Bethel sitting with us, you would have this sunny day outside. But I understand people just outside of Bethel that it's raining. But, you know, we've had quite a bit of rain. We really don't need it, but that's how it goes.
We need to remind them of tomorrow's Lenten service.
Tomorrow's Lenten service will be posted at 3 o'clock. I will be watching with you because oops, there goes the lights. We had to pre-record, but you can still make comments and everything else. And so it's at 3 o'clock tomorrow. It's going to be one on healing, and I'll warn you ahead of time. It went a little longer than I thought.
Yeah.
I've been trying to keep them to 45 minutes or less, but this reconnect. Oh, there we are. We're back. We've reconnected. So and you can let that cook longer if you need to.
No,
They're cooked away.
They're cooked away, I think.
I found a reading today. It's about daffodils, and you know, I love when you first see daffodils because that's that harbinger of spring. And Cameron Trimble, pastor and just a wonderful writer. She writes about recently in January losing a dear friend to cancer, but this person was kind of like a Renaissance man. He was a gardener. He and his wife had a beautiful home on a stream, and she even said she loved going to their house. He was an artist, a professor, a gardener, an all-around Renaissance man, and he wrote charming little missives that he would post online. And she said as she was thinking about spring, looking out her window at the budding trees, she was thinking of Tommy, this family friend who just passed, celebrating his life even as I wish he was still here with us. So today she writes, she has copied a piece that he wrote in 2015 entitled Foolish Daffodils. So I want to share that with you. It is 31 degrees here this morning at Big Creek. I walked out into the driveway desperately looking for some infinitesimal sigh of the approaching spring of 2015. It is, after all, the 8th of March. Of course, there are a few daffodils pushing their green, pointy, leafy fingers up into the frosty air, but everyone knows that daffodils just don't have any sense. They hoist their brilliant yellow tousled heads up into the air without regard for the temperature or timing, trumpeting the approaching spring. They are like over-eager children with their enthusiasm, overwhelming common sense. You just can't count on the Narcissus family for any accurate weather predictions. In the last week or two, I have noticed the crowds of brilliant blonde flowers standing by the Gilmer County roadsides beckoning with false promises. You cannot trust a daffodil. Many years ago, when we lived in Jonesboro, a thick patch of King Alfred daffodils stood in the backyard where they bloomed in profusion every spring. One March night during this particular spring, we had a surprising dip in the temperatures. It registered in the low teens and froze the yellow blooms into stiff, immovable statues. The next morning, the wind picked up and blew so hard it broke the frozen stems and blooms off at ground level and sent them tumbling end over end down the small hill towards the lake. As they tumbled, the now fragile, brittle flowers broke into hundreds of pieces of bright yellow confetti, littering the dry, dormant grass in the backyard. Knowing the shortcomings of daffodils and their unreliability, I have to admit this modest plant I like better than most. Their resurrection every spring gives me assurance and faith in the invisible things that reliably perform with no facilitating from me or anyone else. That enduring speck of unseen life, wrapped and housed and surrounded by layers and layers of the brown sleeping bulb, is determined to continue performing as it always has. How I love those daffodils. Boy, that's the truth. Oh, she's standing here with my food. Look!
There's the salmon patties and the asparagus and the roasted potatoes.
So
Here you
sorry
go.
you can't join me, but I shall go
And there's
ahead.
more salmon patties over there.
Wow! That, oh gosh, the smell is great. It's transferred itself from the smell that about knocked me over when I was standing in front of the raw cans to.
Oh, we're back.
Okay, so as soon as you're ready, you can't eat anything, so
Nope.
just get your clear water.
I've got my water.
Okay. So we're gonna open with, or we're gonna have a prayer before we eat, and I want you all to grab something to eat and join me, so I don't feel like I'm eating by myself. All right. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for this meal. We thank you for the nourishment it gives. We thank you for the loving hands who fixed it. And we just thank you for this season of Lent as we come to Palm Sunday. Remind us that we will be shouting our hosannas as Jesus enters the city. And give us courage and strength to continue the walk to the cross. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. All right.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Oh, enjoy yourself.
Okay. Oh, wow. There's nothing like roast. Oh,
I'm gonna keep a sheet, and I'm gonna mark down how many times, and then I'll put it out there as a question, and then we'll see who comes the closest to knowing how many times you talk with food in your mouth. And I'm only talking during the show, not when we're in the office, because I can't count that far.
I swallowed. I'm not talking now.
You're not talking now?
I mean, with food in my mouth. I'm not talking with food in my mouth.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to have to entertain. What are you going to talk about?
Oh, well, let's see. I'm trying to, we want to remind them too about, on Good Friday, we're doing a virtual service at 7:30, and it's the service of the shadows of darkness, and it's going to be very, very moving because it'll be dark enough by then. It will look good,
Right.
and we will post that out on Facebook Live, and then that was rude. And then and then we will also have it on YouTube, so you can watch it at any time.
Yeah, it's going to be a special service. Good Friday has always been special to me, and it's one of those services that just really prepare us for Easter morning and the joy that comes on Easter morning. So I encourage you.
And the Easter Bunny comes.
Yeah, tell them about that while I eat.
The Easter Bunny will be at Bethel for Easter and is hopeful for good weather. The Easter Bunny does not like rain or snow, nor sleet, nor hail. It's not like the postman, it doesn't deliver. Anyway, it's the Easter Bunny will arrive at some point, and we're going to be outside, and therefore everyone pray for good weather. I've looked at the long range forecast, and it says, one said 68 degrees and one said 70.
Woohoo!
I'm voting for any of those, and then it said 23% chance of rain, but I'm hoping that was in the night and not during the time we would be worshiping outside.
That's right.
But it will be really exciting. I think it'll be it'll be nice to see everybody outside in the nice fresh air. And the parking lot drive-in last year was so neat, and I'm looking forward to that again.
Yeah. And you can come and bring chairs. You can sit with your family. It'll still be social distancing. And we're suggesting masking even though we're outside, but if
Yeah.
you're within your own group and a distance away, that would be up to you. And of course, Easter, what an Easter this will be.
Oh my gosh.
To come back from what we have been through in this last year, and it is like resurrection. That's why I wanted to read that story about the daffodils. Seeing those daffodils pop up.
Well, last year at this time, we thought we were going to be back in.
Yes.
We thought, oh, we'll be back in worship service by Easter. Ha! Joke that was. So this is going to be, now at least we have time to plan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how are the salmon cakes?
Oh. Mm-hmm. They are very good. Did you mark me down?
Yeah.
You'll just be making up a number.
I will.
You'll put out there 1,010 or something.
No, I wouldn't go that far because I can't count that far.
Right. There we're back.
Oh, there we are again. Maybe it's our glowing personality short out the system. Do you think that's it?
I'm sure that's it. I'm sure of it.
But,
I definitely think so. And you were talking about the Easter Bunny. I'm trying to send a note to the Easter Bunny to see if the Easter Bunny will hop in a little earlier and do another interview like we did last year, the day before Easter.
I've got the Easter Bunny's email address,
Okay.
and I could send that notice out and ask, and and so then you would put it on YouTube on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that would be good. If we can get the Easter Bunny to give us an interview, so we can sometime on Saturday we'll put that interview
Okay.
online for people to
Well, I'm
see.
sure the Easter Bunny's got plenty of time in his schedule. He doesn't look real busy these days. Since he's having to do so many virtual appearances and he can't spend
Right.
a lot of time
Right.
in houses.
In houses.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Well, I just hope, I'm hoping that a lot of you have had your vaccines. I know Marty and I have had both of ours, and it's been 2 weeks since
Yes,
we've
2
had them.
weeks.
So
Yep.
we're considered what?
we're
We're considered whatever we are. I don't know.
We're considered that we've gotten the vaccines, and they said still, remain vigilant.
Vigilant.
Yes.
That's right. But
Was
I'm
that
just
talking with food in your mouth?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm swallowing now. I'm gonna get another drink of water.
I was giving you the benefit of the doubt because I really think it was more than 3, but
And I'm even being
nicer than
cognizant,
usual.
and I'm being cognizant of it, and I still do it.
We're so used to it that you just don't realize.
Well, it's because
You have so many wonderful things to say that you just can't take time out. I was being nice, if you noticed.
I noticed, but I don't recognize you.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was a lie. Oh, God.
I'll tell you what's really good is this asparagus.
You like that?
It is
I got it.
excellent.
I got it for $1.97, and that came from Aldi's.
Mm.
I like theirs. Theirs is very good, and it's usually pretty reasonably priced.
Well, it's cooked just right.
Yes.
It's cooked just right, along with everything else.
Well, you notice I time it all so well. I shove it in there. Oh, it looks like it's about done. Do you smell anything burning? Okay. That's how my grandma cooked.
Well, at least we don't have, what was that disease?
Oh.
We definitely won't have pellagra. Was that it?
Yeah, I think that was
I
it.
don't know that I ever had heard of that.
Well,
That's
probably because you ate that canned salmon when you were a kid.
probably croquettes.
Croquettes.
Mom always called them croquettes.
Oh.
Yeah, but I can't see where it said that word. But it's just so weird. I'd never heard of pellagra. 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 I'd never heard of that. And didn't know that it was so invasive, or that
Yeah.
many people had suffered from it.
Yeah. You know,
There's Lori.
It reminds me of me having the salmon. Whenever I fix the salmon, reminds me of my dad's last meal that he ate before he passed away from cancer. He told my sister he wanted her to go to the store and get a can of salmon. He says, I want that sockeye salmon, that red stuff, not that cheap stuff. And so my sister went and got the salmon, and that's what he had to eat.
Oh,
And
be
that's
darned.
what he wanted.
He
And
liked it.
yeah, but he didn't want that stuff that he fed us.
I'm a hungry little pup.
Oh yeah.
See, if I put my fork down, then I won't eat. But I'll talk with my mouth full.
Yeah. Okay, that was 6.
Don't say it out loud.
Can I count the ones that you do earlier in the day too?
Did I miss something? Why is Marty only drinking water? She has a procedure tomorrow, and I think you can figure out what it is. She'll be drinking plenty of stuff tonight
Oh yeah.
to get ready for the procedure.
Gatorade and I are going to become very good friends.
Yeah, yeah. Jamie,
Yeah.
what a lovely spring lunch. It is. That's the perfect thing to say that it is. It's the perfect spring lunch or even brunch. It's light, but
Mhm.
it's very filling, and it's so tasty.
Well, next week we're going to have, actually it's going to look kind of like this, but the salmon recipe is a different one. It's not with salmon.
Not a patty.
It's not a patty. It's actual salmon. And it is, you do it in the oven on one sheet pan, and you do the potatoes, the salmon, and you can do any kind of vegetable you want, but I'm probably going to do asparagus. The one recipe I had called for green beans, and I didn't really want to eat green beans in them.
I'll tell you what, this asparagus was so good, I wouldn't mind having it a second time. Look at this, clean plate.
There's more over there if you want them.
Well, I'm
There's
gonna let this settle.
There's 5 of them.
I'm gonna let
I
this
just
settle.
made smaller. I didn't make the giant ones because I
Yeah.
thought that way you
Well,
could.
and I think that's nice to have them a little bit smaller, you know.
Because it said it would make 4 if I used the double recipe. Well, they would have been pretty darn good size.
It would have been huge.
Yeah, and
But that was about as tasty lunch as I can think
the
of.
capers really add something to that.
There's something about capers that really add a zing to stuff. So
They had
I
'em
really
on
like it.
sale. They had them on sale at Hy-Vee.
Did they?
$1.99 a jar. That's a good price.
Yeah, and think about it. If a can of salmon sold for less than a nickel a can, you could feed 4 people on that
But
by
think
adding
about,
the crackers or the
think
whatever.
about how much money people didn't have
Yeah,
during that
that's true.
depression, and
That's
that was
true.
probably a lot of money for a lot of families.
But something for pennies is just
Oh,
amazing.
And you know, I used the Ritz crackers instead of saltines.
Why would you do that?
Because I had them.
Oh.
Because I bought on that big box of crackers for the
for me.
recipe.
I tell you, the Ritz crackers were great. You could use other crackers, but she used the Ritz.
Yeah, you
And
can.
so-
They said to use saltines, and I thought,
Yeah.
I
It
don't
really
want to
made
buy.
it-
I don't want to buy saltines.
Well, I think it made the patty a little richer.
Yes, and I had made that up, and I let it. You know, it said to let it set for at least 30 minutes or overnight. So I had made them on Monday, so they had been setting for that time, and I think that did make a difference
Yeah.
because at home I made them and I didn't let them set that long.
It was perfect. It was very good. You did it in a short amount of time,
Yes.
and it tasted so good. And the only problem we've had today is our buffering.
We're just ahead.
We're just buffering away.
It's
I don't get it. I do not get it. But hopefully this has been a good week for you all. I hope you got to, if you got to get outside or whatever, that would be great.
Ooh, they also ought to take a look at the picture I posted today from inside the sanctuary.
I know a lot of people already have. Marty posted our Easter picture of our congregation, and you're all wearing Easter colors. You're wearing the little pastels. You look like little Easter eggs. And that's been posted on Bethel members.
Yeah, well, and members and Facebook, the regular Facebook page.
Oh, we got that in. Oh, here we're back. Oh, this is just, it's like we're jumping up and down.
Well,
Okay.
it's our energy. It's just flying the screen.
I know. But anyway, what we're going to get ready for, like I said, is Palm Sunday. We have our Holy Adventure tomorrow at 3, and we have one more of those during Holy Week, because in order to get through all 6 weeks, I had to go through using Holy Week. The study has been very touching to me, and I hope you all have gotten things out of it that you hadn't thought about before. I think it has stretched us in our understanding of what it means to be whole, and both spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I think that it's a book that all of you, if you haven't got it, you can find them on Amazon in the paperback version I've seen them for as low as $5 or $6. But it's something that you can go back to, because there's a lot of meditations in it and a lot of what they call affirmations, how we affirm ourselves as we take this journey. And of course, Marty, she's had to sit in on it because she's been there most of the time, except for the one Wednesday. I did it myself.
Yeah. And so this one we decided, because you needed to be gone and I needed to be gone,
right,
we would just take that ahead of time.
Right, but you can still make comments, and I will watch along with you after I get done with what I'm doing, and make comments back to you if necessary, if you have questions.
And you must have thought it was really went fast, because you thought it was 40 minutes and it's 52.
I know, but there was a lot to cover in this one.
There was.
There was. It's
and I had to sit there and not move that whole time.
Well, I know.
Because I didn't want to jar the camera.
You didn't want it to pop out at
Well,
us?
I found out how come it popped out, and I've got to fix it.
Okay.
Because if the little rubber grippy thing is sliding out, and it slid out, and it shocked.
Oh.
The,
Well,
shocked
that woke everybody up that was watching it.
Woke us up too. Wow.
But anyway, I just hope you all are, as you keep continuing our journey to the cross, I hope that good things have happened. I hope that you also see spring in the things going on around you. As I drive here to church, you know, the yards, the grass is always starting
my
to turn
neighbor
green.
has already mowed their yard one time.
Oh, that's early. That's an early mow.
They are very enthusiastic.
Well, I tell you what, the grass is getting green, that's for sure. Marty, hope you have a clear day tomorrow.
I do too. Yeah, this is my annual one, so you know I'm really a lucky person. You know, because the alternative would be I'd be dead, and I don't think I like that option at all.
That's not an option.
No.
That's not an option. So I tell you what, we're going to close with a prayer. We're going to kazoo our way out, and I hope you get to try this meal, because it was very, very satisfying, very tasty. We're trying to turn the lights back on. So it's great that you were able to join us today. We just had fun.
Every day here is
and that's
fun.
what it's all about.
Every day here is fun.
There you go.
What can I say?
Okay, so before we sing, I got to say a closing prayer.
All right.
All right. So this is called the Prayer for the Week, and it's by Cameron Trimble. May God bless you, keep you, be gracious to you. May God give you grace never to sell yourself or God short. Grace to risk something big for something good. Grace to remember that the world is now too dangerous for anything but truth, and too small for anything but love. So may God take your mind and think through it. May God take your lips and speak through them. May God take your hands and do good with them. May God take your heart and set it on fire. Amen. All right.
Okay.
So here we go. Get on my kazoo.
Oh, I hope I push the button.
Yeah.
Oh, chat, cook, and pray. Oh, chat, cook, and pray. Oh, chat, cook, and pray. Oh, chat, cook, pray. Amen.